Hello everyone and welcome back to another video in the PM Pre-September 2024 mock exam. This is the second OT case study question of your section B. The name of the question is Freya Company. So let's have a read at the scenario. Freya Company is an automotive company that manufactures wiring harnesses, bundles of prepared cables installed in cars. Freya's main customer is a large automobile manufacturer and the industry is mature and highly competitive. Demand exceeds Freya's capacity and they hold little inventory. Freya's workforce is on guaranteed hourly contracts. The factory is organized into identical production lines and all products pass through 4 manual stages listed below. Production times are shown in partial hours. That means 0.3 is 30% of 1 hour. So you're given with the production stages and the time that they take. Then you're given with the prices that they are sold for, direct materials, direct labor, and the contribution. Annual factory overheads are 1,740,000, not including the direct labor cost, and there are 2,900 labor hours available per week. The factory is open 50 weeks a year, and the total labor cost is 1.16 million annually. So let's have a read at the first requirement. The very first requirement wants us to use the throughput accounting principles, rank the products in the order in which they should be produced and sold to maximize the profit. So for each of these 3 products that there are, we have to produce a ranking. So for ranking, let's see the contribution that we are getting. That means the throughput contribution. And then let's see what is the constraint over here, the bottleneck resource. And then we'll have a look at what we are going to rank them. So let's have a read. The demand, as we were reading earlier, exceeds the capacity, and they can produce as much as they can. So if you see through the resources, the production stages, the majority time that goes away is, you'll see the figures to be the largest over here in this scenario. The soldering takes the most of the time. So this has got to be the bottleneck resource, because the one which takes more time on the that means you're using more of your hours on this very production process. So let's put the prices over here on the sheet that I have open. Obviously, if you are going for a center-based exam, you're going to be given rough paper, so you can use that to do your calculations. Otherwise, if you're sitting through remote exams, then you're going to have to manage a way for yourself. You can use the scratch pad, but still it's not very, as similar to the sheet of paper. So 23.75. Now coming to the direct material cost, which is given to you as 14.1, then 12.5, and then 11. So this is what your materials are costing you. Now you can know your throughput. Throughput is nothing but the selling price minus your material cost. So your throughput is going to be these figures in front of you. Now the next thing that we see is the time on the bottleneck resource. So time on bottleneck. Let's see how much time are we taking. So it's 0.45, 0.4, and then 0.38. So this is the time that they are taking on the bottleneck. So now you're going to find out the throughput contribution per hour. So we are going to see the contribution, the throughput contribution divided by the time that it is taking on the bottleneck. So this is what the return that we are getting in our products. The very first ranking I'm going to give to product Z because it gives me the highest return. Then the next one to Y, to X, and the third ranking to Y. So this is what our rankings are going to look like. Z is going to be ranked the first. Second ranking is X. And then Y is the third ranking. All right. Moving further to the next question. Assuming that the throughput per hour for product X is $32, calculate its throughput accounting ratio. So basically, they have given you the numerator. Now you've got to work out the denominator, which is the other factory costs per bottleneck hour. So the other factory costs which are given to us is, you can see that you're going to have to add for the labor as well as the factory overheads. So other factory costs that you have is 1740,000 and then 1160,000. This is what your other factory costs look like. And the time on the bottleneck that you have is going to be, you have 2,900 labor hours available per week, and you have only 50 weeks that your factory is open. So the total bottleneck hours that you have is 1,45,000. Again, the above figure is in millions, so you can convert it to million hours. So it's going to be roughly, just simply divide by 1 million. So this is what it's going to work out in millions. Now you can find out the other factory costs. That means your denominator of your throughput accounting ratio. So it's going to be 20. Now you can find out your throughput accounting ratio. Your throughput accounting ratio, you're already given with the numerator, which is 32. You can simply divide with the denominator, and then you will have your answer as 1.6. Now you're supposed to answer till one decimal place, so you're going to enter 1.6 over here. Moving to the next question. This wants you to, Freya company has decided to reallocate the workforce between the production stages to improve the throughput. Which decision would most likely result in the biggest improvement in throughput? So you see that the most time that we are taking is on the process of this process right over here, which is soldering. So, and the least time that we are taking is in the transport one. So the one that we can divert traffic from, the least hours, the least time that it is taking is in the transport preparation. So we are going to have to relocate the transport preparation to the soldering, because they take very less time. So all the workers who are allocated over there, they can be reallocated to the soldering so that we are able to prepare things faster. Moving forward to the next question. If both the hourly wage rate and direct material costs are expected to be higher than the original estimates, then what would be the impact on the following? Throughput contribution per hour. If your direct material costs are higher, definitely the throughput is going to get reduced. So the throughput contribution per hour also is going to decrease. Then talking about the other factory costs per hour, if you're increasing the wage rates, other factory costs per hour, if you're increasing the wage rates, then what's going to happen is that your other factory costs in which we take labor also is going to get increased. So increase over here. Then throughput accounting ratio, because if you see, have a look at the combined thing, your material cost is going up and your wages are also going up. So ultimately it reduces your return, which is the throughput accounting ratio. So a decrease over here. Moving forward to the very last question that we have for this specific scenario, which of the following statements about throughput accounting is not true? So the first statement says, optimum production of the bottleneck activity determines the production schedule of the non-bottleneck activities. This is absolutely correct. That's why this is not our option. It concentrates on the long term when a business has a fixed supply of resources and operating expenses are largely fixed. Now, this statement is incorrect because, this statement is not true, because it rather focuses on the short term. It assumes that in the short term, the amount that you're paying to your labor remains fixed. Hence, that's the thing that we have in throughput. But the statement says long term. Hence, this statement is not true. Now, also let's discuss for the other two statements. Improving productivity on the bottleneck resource will lead to an improvement of a product's TPAR. Obviously, if you are reducing the time taken on the bottleneck, then you'll be able able to produce more of the units, and ultimately you're going to have a good return. Conversion costs are considered fixed and included in other factory costs. That's also true. That's why this statement is not your answer. With this, we are done with Freya company. We're going to meet in the next video for the further questions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was useful.